Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside. We are back at the brewery finally after all this time. However, you can see we are social distancing because we are respecting the COVID-19 pandemic and we want to remain safe while enjoying some beverages. Joining me today is Ian from Whippersnapr Brewing.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, good. Thanks for letting us interview you today. I really appreciate this.
Not at all. Thanks for coming.
You brought us some tasty drinks out.
I did.
But you brought something else out. What's
I did,
this other thing you brought out?
The initial curveball is that we do a little bit of newfangled, what we call soda, not the old-fashioned stuff, the newfangled. So it's non-alcoholic. It's a root beer. We use cane sugar, sassafras, sarsaparilla, and oats. And it's just all natural, all really nice and tasty, and gives an option for some of our other customers that don't necessarily want to always drink beer. So
awesome. Yeah. Long-distance toast.
Bing. It's got a nice little spiciness. It's nice and mellow. It's not overly syrupy or anything like that. There's no adjuncts, no extracts.
Yeah, there's not the overpowering molasses that you get in most root beers.
Yeah, it's very clean.
All natural ingredients, you said? No preservatives, I'm guessing?
No, nothing like that. No. Yeah, so we just keep it clean, keep it simple.
It's very tasty, and it's kind of like pushing away from, it's still got the name beer there, but
yeah,
it allows you to, have kids on the patio too.
Yeah, absolutely. So the kids come around. We started making this about 6-8 months ago, and one of our regulars brings his kids around all the time too, and he was so happy when we had the root beer because he's a big root beer fan. So he was able to have a glass of beer with his dad at the bar, and it was the best thing. That he was really happy about that. So it's pretty cool. We do ginger ale now too, and
plus without the molasses, it actually looks like a beer. So.
Yeah, it's true too.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's your beer story? What brought you to beer?
Well, you might have already heard a couple minutes ago. But yeah, I do like to drink beer, so that's why I wanted to get into it. I always wanted to get into business too, and I thought this was a good way of sort of bridging those two. And started up 6 years ago, but obviously been brewing for a long time. And then, we just got going.
Awesome. So you also brought us out some tasty actual alcoholic beers to try.
Actual alcohol.
So what's the first one I'm trying at this time?
Right. So the first one is our Root of Evil. It's our light lager. It has evolved over time quite a bit. It started off as a little bit of a smoky thing. Again, so pre-Prohibition lager goes back to Prohibition days or a little bit before that, how beer was brewed then, all local ingredients, but nice, light, and easy drinking.
Awesome. Now, I saw in the can 4.5%. That's
so it's one of those easy crushable beers. Super clean, super light. Yeah. We used to make it with smoked malts, which really threw off the balance of flavors. I think I've probably brewed about 40 different recipes of this over the years. So just trying to make it really quaffable. Yeah.
Trying to make evil perfect in a sense.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So alcohol was known as the root of evil back in the day, so that's why we called it the root of evil.
Yeah, just like a lot of things were evil back then too. So, and more things continue to be evil now.
Yes,
that's the way it is.
Yeah, it's true.
Getting to the root of evil with this quite delicious tasting lager is very nice.
Thanks.
Super crushable, very easy to drink after a long day or playing sports with the guys. I could probably have a bunch of these until I just pass out on the couch watching baseball, actual real sports.
Yeah, that's actually one thing that we first started off with. It was our philosophy of earn your beer, because if I did not earn my beer in terms of exercising or working hard, I would be a pretty big boy with the amount that I drink. So we like to go on bike rides. I do a lot of mountain bike riding. Me and my wife go biking. We did a 70K bike ride last weekend, which isn't much to a lot of people, but it's still getting to be a lot for us.
Yeah.
But we always end up here, and last Sunday we ended up here and by the time we got here, it was pouring rain, and we were absolutely bonked out. And so afterwards, we had a beer or two, and then we're like, well, we can call the kids and come get us, or hey, we've got a delivery van. We'll just load the bikes up in that and drive it home. So that was the end of our day there. So
fantastic.
That was good, yeah.
That sounds great. What are some roadblocks and difficulties you ran into creating Whippersnapper?
Yeah, I'm sure like everybody else, we had government issues. It's a big, scary sort of thing to jump into. So the amount of time it takes to get your approvals, you actually can't even apply for it until you have all your equipment in your space. So renting out the space and getting equipment in is a big sort of task. and a little bit scary when you're outlaying all this money and signing, contracts and things like that without knowing if you're actually going to get the license in the end. And that's only the Fed's license, because then after that it's a provincial license. And then you have your front of house license, all sorts of different things. So we went and bought our little baby system. So it's a 150-liter Blickman system, the Cadillac of little homebrew systems, basically. Got that in place, put in some blue barrels as fermenters, and applied for the license, and they were able to come in and check it out. But it still took 4 months. Yeah. So that we were able to do that while the rest of our equipment was being built and being shipped over. So that saved us probably, I don't know, because we didn't get that set up for another 6 months after that. So I can't imagine, some places that are waiting 6, 8, 12 months before they open. It's crazy.
And I'm finding, especially in Ontario, Quebec as well, the craft beer expansion is so rapidly evolving in the last 2-3 years. It's crazy. And I read online that the Ontario government has a kind of a guidebook of here's how to create your own craft brewery.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think we've seen that guidebook. Yeah. It didn't exist back when we opened up, and it has really exploded in the last couple of years. So when we started, there was maybe 2 or 3 in town, and then there was 3 or 4 of us that started around the same time. So Bicycle Craft, Dominion City, and I think what was it, Broken Stick? They opened up too, and Covered Bridge had opened the year before us. So it's sort of, that was another sort of lump going from 3 to about 10 in the area. And then in the last 2-3 years, it seems like every pocket of town has its own brewery, which is the way it used to be, right? Every little pocket of town used to have its own brewery. And we've gotten away from that over the years because of all the entire, provincial bylaws and things like that. So it's been nice that some of these laws have been relaxed, so we can deliver to the home. We can have people sit here and enjoy beers, and because it's something that, I don't know how much you've traveled the U.S., but
not much.
It's crazy down there. You can go to a little brewery in the middle of an industrial park on a Tuesday afternoon, and it's jammed. So the social aspect is huge for beer down south, and just being able to relax and enjoy beer. And everybody thinks about American beer as being Budweiser and all that crap, but it's absolutely not.
Yeah,
it's absolutely not.
That. Yeah.
So I think we're probably about 8-10 years behind the U.S. in terms of consumption and knowledge.
Yeah, I know in Plattsburgh, which is pretty close to where myself and my videographer Phil, we live in Montreal. It's about an hour, and in Plattsburgh alone, well, first of all, it's shopping capital of Quebec in America, but there's 4 breweries there. One's in an old military barracks, which they turned into an Airbnb and brew.
Yeah.
Which is great. And then there's one, literally a hop, skip, and a jump, and it's a little fire station.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is awesome. So,
Upstate New York has got the best stuff because it used to be a huge industrial area. So they have all these gorgeous old brick buildings, and they're basically giving it away. Because there's no other business being started in upstate New York. Nothing. But breweries are just exploding, and they're basically being given these places, gorgeous, gorgeous places for almost nothing. And I'm very jealous. Like we had a hard time finding this space in an industrial park and things like that. And it's not sexy from the outside, but it's kind of comfortable and cozy inside. You have to work to make it that way, but
100% for sure. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Whippersnapper, where'd you come up with that? Especially. Kind of more unique spelling than you're missing a couple of vowels there. So.
A couple of vowels, couple of consonants, but it's still phonetically correct. It's something my grandpa called me when I was growing up. So Whippersnapper's a little punk running around getting into trouble. So we like to brew up trouble and fun here. So you can see our logo's a little bit misspelled, but we've got the slingshot in the back pocket, kind of the Dennis the Menace, Bart Simpson type of thing, and it's just fun.
Awesome.
We like to have fun with what we're doing.
What's beer number 2 I'm going to be trying here?
All right, so beer number 2 is another one of the ones we did. I brewed as a homebrew thing. Actually, my wife came up with the idea of doing ginger. And then I wanted to sort of expand on that. I had spent a lot of time in Malaysia for work, and this one's called Okela, which is very Malaysian slang for just, yeah, sure type of thing. Wow. They say it at the end of every sentence, but it's got ginger, coriander, a little bit of lemon, and a little bit of honey malt in it too, just to emulate some of the curry dishes that we had there.
Get all of the ginger on the nose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's very uniquely us, and a lot of people, whenever they come in and they have flights, almost everybody tries that.
It's very heavy on the nose, but it's not on the palate, which I like. Mm-hmm. Like I think if it were more on the palate, it'd probably be a little, personally for myself, a little overpowering.
Yep.
I'm in current like most of the rest of the craft beer world. I'm in my New England IPA phase right now.
Oh, okay.
But I do enjoy like the Black is Beautiful that came out with Weathered Souls. I've enjoyed a couple of their stouts, but oh, this one's more coffee. Oh, this one's chocolate. I like this one more. So.
Right. It's funny. We don't do too many stouts, but our primary stout is called Risque, and I actually made it as a Valentine's Day beer. Trying to think of something to get my wife for Valentine's Day at one point. It's like, ooh, I've got a great idea for a beer. Middle of the night, it's like dark chocolate, black cherry, vanilla, and espresso. So it's really, really decadent, super expensive to make, but really tasty. So, yeah.
Names and labels are fairly unique. Risque, Asian Orange, Inukshuk, FNL. Where did that creativity come from?
Yeah, so I enjoy the creative process more than just churning things out. I didn't get into this business to just manufacture. I wanted to, really push boundaries of being creative. So like last year, we did a whole thing called the Unfiltered Project, where we released a brand spanking new beer every single week. Brand new label, brand new beer, canned, everything. And we usually got between 12 and 14 cases of beer. And of course, last year we were able to have a keg to go with it to serve front of house, right? So we'd have a keg plus the cans to take home. And they're all, really well successful. People liked it. It's fun. It's fun for me too, because I do the designs for most of the labels too. I'd say about 98%. Is what I do, and come up with the concepts of beers. We collaborate with a lot of different people on the beers themselves too. So we did a beer last year called Queer's Corners, and it was we hosted drag shows here at the place, and so we donated some of the proceeds to the local LGBTQ. Yeah, I always have a hard time with that, but yeah. So and yeah, it's been fun. Been fun to do a lot of these things. And the naming is just part of the process too, right? So every single beer's got a concept, a story behind it, and obviously the beer to sort of go with it. So it's all part and parcel to the process. Sometimes, you have an ingredient that you want to use. Sometimes you have a concept of what you want to do. Like last year we did the back to school one. And this year we're going to do the back to school again, but it's going to be a completely different sort of thing.
It's going to be after Labor Day.
Exactly. It's going to be back to school with a bunch of question marks.
Like a Zoom video in the corner or something.
Yeah, exactly. Released on Zoom. Yeah.
Fantastic. So you mentioned you've done collabs, as for example at the drag show, but have you ever done a brewery collab?
I don't recall that we have, and I could be lying about that or not remembering. Trying to look back here. No, we haven't really done too many things like that. We've done collabs with different local businesses, like coffee places. I'm a big coffee guy, so our Risque Stout is done with Equator Coffee. We did a big coffee IPA at one point that collab with another place. A lot of local restaurants, we've done different batches for them just to have fun. We bring them in and brew with them, and but I haven't done anything with other local breweries, to be honest.
Would you? Is there anybody in the pipeline?
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about it with Kitchissippi, and now that Conspiracy Theory is moving in nearby, would be good to do a Bell's Corner sort of beer. Would be kind of fun. And I'm completely open to doing it, but having the full-time day job like you, and then having to do this on evenings and weekends, it's sometimes hard to get out and chat with the other brewers. Just like the other brewers are all busy as heck too, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Our first ever interview from Labrador Brewing, Troy, he's full-time in tech as well. He's in telecommunications or something. And he's just like, I can't wait to, I do this 100%. But he realizes it's, I have to work a full-time job for my podcasting habit. So
exactly, right? I call it a really expensive hobby. Yeah. But at the same time, I still get to do my hobby and have fun and hopefully build something. I have people that work for me that are doing great with what they do and are very helpful, so I don't have to do everything all the time anymore, which is great. It's fun to do, and absolutely, as I get closer to getting rid of all the kids and having less costs and things like that, but I'd have to sell so much beer to make up for that salary. It would be ridiculous. And there's 40 craft breweries in town now. And we're not a huge one. We're not one of the ones that have, a pile of salespeople pounding the pavement and things like that. And it's not just the local ones. There's guys from Toronto that are coming up and selling here too, right? So there's just so many taps, and we're waiting for all the craft demand to hit the taps at the restaurants. But what's really nice is that we can do the local deliveries now, so that anybody in town wants it, they can order it and we'll come out and deliver it to them. Because that's been something that in the past, we go and do an event out in New Orleans or something like that. And they're like, okay, well, I love this beer. Where can I get it? You can't. You have to come out to the brewery, which is like a 45-minute drive. Now we drive to them. So yeah, they're great.
I know Ontario, I don't know about other provinces, probably the Maritimes, but definitely not Quebec where I'm from. During the first stages of COVID, you guys were allowed to deliver to people's houses. Yeah. Do you find that helped at all?
Oh, it was massive. Yeah. Massive help. We had actually set up to do online deliveries or orders the year before. So we were actually in good shape when COVID hit, that our online shop was open and ready to go. We just adapted and said, all right, well, we'll start delivering to the home. We deliver all over the city to do licensees, LCBOs, and so what's the difference to deliver to somebody's house? We don't have to give away money to the government when we deliver to that person's house, right? As opposed to the LCBO. So yeah, we started doing that. Just probably like everybody else, we shut down brewing back in March when because we were like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sell another beer.
Yeah, when everything really hit the fan.
Yeah, and then so luckily we had a little bit of a stockpile, but April was nuts. We went through everything we had. So halfway through April, it's like, shit, I better start brewing.
I know a few brewers I still speak with back home. They went exclusively to cans. Yeah, and they're like, now we can't keep up. I'm like, wait. Yeah. This makes no sense to me because when you had your tap room open, which you said was your main source of income at one point. And now you can't keep up with Candyman. He's like, yeah, everybody's just drinking at home now.
That's right.
I'm like, oh, yeah, because I guess...
they can't go to restaurants, so...
Yeah, I can't remember who said it, but they're like, pandemic drinking is like airport drinking. 5 a.m., crack open
it's
a
still
beer.
Good, yeah. Anytime is good. Yeah, no, it's been different. And the biggest problem with it is that it costs us a lot more. Right, so you have people come to the front of the house. It doesn't cost us anything extra to pour from a tap. But when you have every single ounce of beer going into a can, so that means it has to be canned, it has to be stickered, or maybe it's been wrapped, or you got to print. You're a fancy guy and you got to print, and then it has to go into a box. It has to go into a van. You have to pay the guy to drive it around, and you pay for gas and things like that. You got to have a truck. So your margins are much smaller, but with the additional volume, it was making sense, and we had no other options. Yeah. You got to survive, so we did what we had to do, and we were very happy about doing it, and we're not going to change. We're going to keep her going. Yeah.
Plus delivering happiness to the craft.
Oh man, it is the best thing to. Most of the time, you drop it off the door and knock, and then because you want to keep distance, but you see some people at the window and they're like waving, they're all happy. It's like, yeah, beer guy.
That's been my Uber Eats back home.
Yeah.
Oh, he's almost here.
Yeah.
Oh, he knocked on the door. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Sure.
What's the third beer I'm going to be trying?
So the third beer is another one of our originals. This is our Inukshuk, our Canadian IPA. We brew it with local hops from a farmer out in Richmond, Cascade and Chinook, pretty West Coasty style. So you mentioned that you're into the NEPAs and things like that. I love the NEPAs. I'm actually going back towards the West Coast. Today what I'm brewing is a brand spanking new West Coast called Cruise, and it's going to be a big 7.4%, 60, 70 IBUs. I spent a lot of time in California, and I love to make West Coast IPAs. I love me some NEPAs too, but the hop burn on some of them, you can only have so much of it.
Yes.
And with these, they're so crisp, they're so clean. They got that bit of bitterness to it that makes you want to go back for another one and another one and another one. So,
is it like 5% or so?
5.5. Okay. Yeah. 5.5, about 55 IBUs.
You're not getting like the overpowering booziness of a high alcohol percentage West Coast IPA.
Yeah, most of our beers that we brew, at least our common beers, are between 4.5 and 5.5. Because like I said, I like to drink a lot, so didn't sound right, but I like to drink beers. But if they're all like 8, 9, 10% beers, exactly, it's called quality control. If they're all 8, 9, 10%, I'd be walking sideways half the time. Sorry, you have to beat that out.
It's okay.
Yeah. And so we make most of our beers 4.5 to 5.5. It allows people to come out, hang out, have a couple beers, and go home without walking sideways.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to be safe about it.
I did that a couple of weeks ago. Is one of our local breweries. They did a double IPA day.
Yeah.
And I had 3 of them, and I'm like, I'm gonna fall asleep on my floor.
Yeah.
All 8 to 10% beers. I'm finished.
Yeah.
Wrecked.
Yeah.
And I'm 41 years old. I can't drink as much as I could 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, this is very clean. I like this. It's not overly bitter.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And it's another one that's evolved over time. Like it used to be far maltier, and we've really cleaned it up. really focused on the piney aspects of it, because it's supposed to be about, it's called the Inukshuk. It's based off a little milestone in the forest back behind my house, where I do a lot of biking or dog walking and things like that. So that's what it's based on. That. Yeah.
Very
So it's based about being outside and supposed to be piney, foresty smelling.
Because I know early on of you guys opening, I know I was just driving through Ottawa picking up cans from all the breweries one day, and I didn't really have a chance to try any because I'm driving, and you want to obviously drink responsibly when you're driving. It's no question about that. So I only got home after, and then I kind of did a flight of your beers. I'm like, man, I was really. The Inukshuk was like one of my favorite beers at that time. So
nice, cool, thanks, man. Yeah, it's one of those ones that we got a kegerator at home, and it's one of those ones that I can drink with everything. Yeah. Like if it's the middle of the afternoon, you got nothing going on, I can have that. You're having Indian food, you're having pizza. It works with just about everything. And again, 5.5%, you can have a couple, and it's not going to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to be on the floor anytime soon or falling asleep on the couch.
10 o'clock in the morning, perfect.
So I asked this of all the breweries, all the people I speak with, more so recently, when it's safe to get on a plane again.
Yeah.
Beer vacation you've never been on before that you want to go on.
Love to go to San Diego. Love to go to Portland, Oregon. Nashville would be cool. There's a lot of great places that do a lot of great beers. So yeah. I've lived in Germany, so that was pretty good. I lived in Dresden, which is former East Germany, close to the Czech border, so I love lagers and pilsners. So when we first opened up, we had 2 lagers, which is basically unheard of.
Yes.
Right? So we had our Evil, and then we had Black Sunshine, was a black lager that was aged on oak chips that we haven't done in a couple of years, but we're going to bring back this fall. I loved it. But yeah, people just didn't get it. We were a little too far ahead of our time for our own good in a lot of ways, because I did spend so much time traveling in the U.S. and could see different styles and things working, and the palate's maybe not ready for it at the time, but yeah.
I'm a craft beer drinker mostly, but there's something about a lager that I always say, like, if I can taste a good lager, your likelihood of all your beers being good are, because the lager is just a royal pain in the butt to brew. It's
a challenge, especially a super light one. You got nowhere to hide.
Now, this was the first beer you ever personally brewed, or?
Well, aside from the ones that were in the bathtubs type of things, I think this is our first all grain. So when I came back from Germany, hooked up with a friend, we started doing stuff that the brewery owns. But the first time we got our all grain kit, the first beer we did was this. We actually used cornflakes, because back in Prohibition days, they used corn. To sort of lighten it up, because the 2-row was a little bit darker than Germany, so they use corn to lighten it up. So we use corn flakes. Now I use flaked maize now, but only a limited amount, just to give it a little bit of extra.
I think it's called Landshark in the States, and they're like, we're a corn lager. Like, they tell you what they are up front, and you can taste it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's super light. It's super crushable. Yeah. It's more macro now. Yeah. Because I think they got bought out by one of the big 3. Oh, okay. But it's still like. I don't know if they got bought out by the big 3 like Mill Street did, where it's still Mill Street's kind of Mill Street in the end.
Wow. For another year.
At least at the brewery, from when I was there for a friend's wedding but that was maybe just right after the buyout. Yeah. So I think
they had a 2-year contract or something like that.
I was out here for a wedding, and they have an upstairs part in the Ottawa region. Yeah, and the guy got to tap his own keg for his wedding. And I'm like, man, if I ever meet somebody and get married, it's here.
That's cool.
So, unless, I could convince one of my brewery friends back in Montreal to let me borrow their brewery for my reception.
So we've done different things. We've done receptions here for weddings. We've actually brewed beers for different events. A couple of our customers, if I see it, So this one was for...
Toss the bouquet, rose hips, and hibiscus pale ale.
So a couple of our local girls got married about 6 months ago.
Cool.
And that was their wish. They wanted to do a hibiscus, rosemary and hibiscus. Was that what it was? But it was really tasty. And awesome. All their people came out and loved it. So.
Fantastic. Yeah. That's great. Now, you mentioned your first ever beer was kind of your bathtub beer. Did you ever name it, or was it just like, just get drunk?
No, let's just get drunk. Yeah.
Well, when you're 19 in Ontario, 21 in the US, but when you're that age, it's like, let's just get drunk. Who cares what it's made?
Pretty much, yeah. And they'd always say, okay, use this much sugar, and I'd always double that so you can get more alcohol out of it. So yeah.
Fantastic. What's the last beer I'm going to be trying?
So the last one was originally called Agent Orange, is now called Atomic Orange. This one we just recently put into the LCBO as well. So this is a very close to double IPA, but it's super malty, really orangey flavor. We use Summit hops and orange zest to really amp up the orangeness to it. But it's nice and malty. It's got about 80 IBUs, so it has a lot of bitterness to it, but because of the malt balance, it doesn't really taste like a super clean bitter beer.
Get a lot of orange in the first sip.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of orange to this. So it's quite popular.
It's like boozy orange juice.
Pretty much, yeah.
I get like after the third, fourth sip, I get a little bit of maltiness on the back end of my tongue, but it's very. And this is a double IPA, so 7-ish percent.
7%, yeah.
Still, I mean, for 7%, yeah, I can drink a couple of these.
Right.
It's still like, if I'm together with the guys and we could share these beers, like do our own tasting, then I think a couple of guys would like this. But I have a couple of friends who their palates are just weird to me and my video guy, because we're like, IPAs are awesome, these are awesome.
Oh man,
and we have one friend who hates IPAs unless they're lactose IPAs, and we're like,
oh really?
Why?
No. Yeah, we did a series called Jolly Pop, which is our milkshake IPAs with a couple of different fruits in them. We did a mango and a pink guava, then a boysenberry and whatever. But yeah, so those are good. But the lactose sometimes starts getting to me after a while. It's just sort of a little bit heavy because it doesn't ferment out, right? So it just sort of sits there. I really appreciate clean things for the most part. Again, I love NEPAs. I'm a huge IPA guy.
Yeah.
I'd say at least half of the beers we made last year were IPAs. We just sort of, we should mix in something else now.
it is the current like style that everybody's going.
Well, I mean, you can do so much with it.
Yeah.
You just really can. And it does make a more drinkable beer. We've had tremendous success with some of our chocolatey beers, like that Choxicle one, or we did another one at Easter called the Easter Cream Ale, which is basically a replica of the Cadbury Cream Ale. Even though the logo or the label looked exactly like it. And that one sold out in 2 hours. The Easter Cream one sold out in 15 minutes, and are amazingly popular. But again, I can't drink a lot of it because it's sweet, and so it just sort of sits there. Whereas you get an IPA, it cleans itself up. It's got that bitterness that really makes you want to go back for another gulp. So that's why I dig on IPAs.
Awesome. And when it first came in, I said your palettes and your choice of mini mason jars. What the palettes are very creative, very original. I find from what I've seen. Most of your palettes are like the typical 4-handle thing.
Right.
What made you pick this?
Yeah. So the little flight caddy here is obviously it fits our little mason jars quite well, but this is my old fence. One side of the fence. We're waiting for the other side to fall down, and then we're gonna sort of wrap the other fridge over here. But all the way around, this is my old fence. We tore it down and put it up. Looks kind of nice. Everybody uses barn board because that's the cool thing to do if you're a craft brewery. Yeah. This is my old fence. So it actually has a part of me in it, and this is all my old fence too. We put our little growler cards in here when it's not COVID time, so people can actually read about what they're drinking and see it instead of just being a little X beside something or just guessing as to what the hell you're drinking. So it adds something and it allows people to say, okay, I like this one. Take it up to the front and give me 6 of those or whatever, and 2 of these. So it's good that way. We use mason jars. I always drank out of mason jars. So when I started the brewery, we were like, all right, we're going to have mason jars. And they actually bounce off the floor pretty well, which is great having an all concrete floor. So they're pretty durable. Now we've moved into other sorts of glasses now too that we were able to sort of expand and do 20-ounce glasses and things like that. But when we first opened, we were only allowed to do flights and 12-ounce sort of pours and things like that. So
awesome.
Yeah. No, and then all the tables and things like that in here are made of old pallets, chunks of old pallets. We've made pretty much everything here.
So like homegrown.
A lot of DIY stuff. Yeah.
So I asked this of pretty much everybody after everybody's come here and consumed your beers and bought everything that's in the fridge when they can. Any friends in the area or further out within a reasonable driving distance? If you have your responsible driver, obviously. Any friends you recommend to try?
So here in Bella's Corners, we actually have 3 breweries now. Conspiracy Theories about to get up and running. So I'd recommend to go pop by and say hi. Kitchissippi's down at the other end of Bella's Corners. They do some really, really clean sort of German styles and have started getting into a few other things. They're great guys too. We always love going to see Stray Dog, Beyond the Pale. Who else we go see? So we have limited amount of time, but
Yes.
those are some of the guys that we go see. Yeah. As many as we can. We've been to Waller quite a few times for their birthday parties and stuff like that. There's a lot of great breweries in town for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Ottawa and Toronto right now in the Ontario region are just beyond anything I'd ever thought I'd see. Just trying to set up like people that we want to interview. I did a list of Quebec and Ontario, and I'm just like Toronto, Etobicoke, and I'm like, well, that's pretty much Toronto.
Yeah.
And it's like 60 something breweries.
They've blown up in the last 2 years. Like it's been insane. Like I think the rent on those places was really the sort of thing that a lot of people had to get over. There's probably a lot of brewers that were like, oh, I want to start a brewery, but I don't have enough money to get this going. Now that there's so many breweries going, they probably were able to get investors a little bit easier, right? So,
I know like Louis Cypher, it looks like you're like in a church almost in Toronto. I'm like, how did you guys afford this place?
Right. Somebody's got pockets.
So what's next for the Whippersnapper brand?
We're we said we're doing better this year. Our goal this year is to do better, everything better. So we're trying to do social media better. We're trying to do our brewing better. We're just trying to get a little bit better and trying to survive the whole pandemic too, right?
Yes.
We're continuing our Unfiltered series, so we're having great fun with that. People are loving it. The Choxicle release, our fire starters. We got another fire starter coming out soon. Our back to schools are coming. My home harvest IPAs, so I grow hops on the side of my house, so that's coming up next. And we're pretty much just trying to evolve and sort of get us going again here. Yeah, focus on the front of house has always been the focus on the front of house, wanting to do that, but it's been a little bit harder. So we'll see how it sort of goes as winter approaches.
I mean, a lot of us were like, 2020 is going to be our year.
Yeah.
Whoever decided against that is kind of a jerk.
No, I think we're trying to be happy with what we've got and just do a nice slow grow. When we first started, we were trying to be super aggressive and trying to pump things out, and we were just running before we could walk. And so we've taken a big step back. Last year, we wanted to say, okay, let's bring it all back here. Instead of trying to run around and be the cool guys everywhere, let's just bring it back here and have a good time with it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got nothing else for you today, so let the people know where they can find you.
You can find us online at Whippersnapperbrewingco.com. If you're in the Ottawa area, we will deliver to you for free 3 days a week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday now. We're in Bell's Corners. Come see us. LCBO, we've got our Atomic Orange. Beer store, we've got Evil and I think it's Inukshuk. And then in some grocery stores, we've got our Atomic Orange too and a few other things. But come see us, order online.
Social media?
Yeah, Whippersnapper Brew on Instagram and Twitter. And then Whippersnapr Brewing Co. on Facebook.
Awesome. So that's all going to be in the show notes. As for us, you can find us at All Beer Inside everywhere. allbeerinside.com is the website. And as I say at the end of every episode, drink craft, not crap.